There are thousands of DOS games. Most of them are terrible. I play one selected at random with a 20-minute time limit and record it live. This is the result. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Random DOS Game Show. And today we have Tremor, new levels for Quake. What is Tremor, you may ask? Well, let's check out the help file and see what the folks behind this have to say. Welcome to Tremor for Quake, 1000 levels, maps, and patches. Tremor for Quake is an add-on disc with 208 never-before-seen maps and over 400 modified map and BSP files. Yep, this is one of those compilation CDs. For those who may not be familiar, back in the mid to late 90s, when a lot of people didn't have access to the internet, and those who did were typically limited to slow dial-up connections, making it tedious to download anything substantial off the internet, certain interested third parties stepped in and combed the internet and downloaded a bunch of user-created maps and mods and what have you, and then they would stick it on a CD, turn around, and sell it commercially. A legally dubious endeavor, to be sure. But to be fair, for this particular add-on, the folks behind this at Head Games Inc., as it says there at the top, apparently they created a fair number of these maps themselves rather than downloading it from the community, although the majority were downloaded from the community. But also, to be fair, they did try to reach out to the authors whenever possible, and whenever there was a README by the author, they included that as well. So, for instance, here's the README for this one map made by one Russell McKenzie. So, congrats, Russell. I bet you never thought you would get a shout out on an online video in 2025 now, did you? But there you have it. So we've got some different categories here to choose from. There's registered, which is basically all of the campaign missions for the retail version of Quake. Then we've got singles, which are single player levels, deathmatch, which is multiplayer, and Quake C, which are essentially mods for the game. Now, I did try playing around with some of these mods off camera, but every time I did, the game would reset all of the settings, and I would have to go back in and change all of the video and control options every single time, and it was just a headache. So I'm not gonna deal with that for this video. You can check it out on your own time if you're so inclined. But anyway, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm just going to be playing through a couple of single player levels and see how well I like them. So we have a whole bunch here. Interesting to note, yes, this is the 2-fort map from the Quake Team Fortress mod. For those who may not know, Team Fortress got its start as a mod for the first Quake. So there you have it. But I am going to... another feature too that's pretty neat is that if you hit the stack feature, now this doesn't work for every single map, but if you hit stack for those that do, basically what you're doing is that you're telling the game when it loads to play through the maps in the order that you choose to stack them. So you could create your own custom campaigns if you wanted from this long list of single player maps. But I'm just going to jump into individual maps. You can just hit play without having to stack them and just check it out. So here we go. Okay, and the first thing that I need to do, since this is the original DOS version, I have to bring up the console and hit and activate mouse look, because it was not on by default for the original DOS version. Apparently, according to John Romero, they thought that it was too advanced for players, so they left it in the game but disabled it. But for later versions, they just turned it on by default. And I'm going to tell you right now, this episode is probably going to go over the 20 minutes, and it's just because I am a huge fan of the first Quake game. In fact, this may be a controversial statement, but I actually like Quake better than the old school Doom games. There's just something about Quake. Ooh, I just telefragged somebody. The action is kind of more frenetic and fast-paced, I feel. There is mouse look, there's jumping. It introduced so much to the FPS genre, everything from Capture the Flag to rocket jumping. The soundtrack by Nine Inch Nails is absolutely amazing. The atmosphere can't be beat. It's just, I am a huge fan of the first Quake game. It probably helps too that unlike a lot of old first-person shooters such as Doom that weren't true 3D, but instead utilized 2D sprites to simulate 3D. Those actually give me motion sickness most of the time, but since Quake is more or less actual 3D, I don't suffer from that when I play Quake. Oh, lock the door, huh? Alright. Well, there you go. Now, I am willing to bet that this is a multiplayer map that they just stuck some enemies in as a single-player map. Because the layout of these pickups for the weapons and the armor and such, it is very generous, and it's laid out in a very like symmetrical manner. It seemed like this is kind of the sort of layout you would expect for like a deathmatch map, that sort of thing. So that's what leads me to believe that this was originally a multiplayer map that was converted into a single player. So there's that. Whoa! Okay. All right. Okay. A shambler jump scare there, huh? Okay. I see what you're putting down, so... Yeah, okay. Time to use the grenade launcher's ricochet ability. I know shamblers are resistant to explosives, but they are not immune. And unlike other old-school first-person shooters, explosive ammo tends to be plentiful in Quake, so there you go. Shambler down. Whoa! Okay. I wasn't sure if that was going to crush me to death or not. Lightning gun. Nice. You usually don't get those until late in the retail campaign levels, which also leads me to believe this is just a deathmatch map that has been co-opted into a single-player one. Are you going to come back down? Yeah. Okay. Bring me up. Just gave me a super nail. Yeah, this is definitely a deathmatch map that they turn into a single player. Just jump through here. Hopefully there's an exit. Let's see. Ah, well, there you go. Okay, so they were kind enough to make it completable. So, and now it's just taking me back to the start again with all of the weapons and ammo that I picked up previously. So one level done. Let's go ahead and try something else. Let's see. How about Anguish? Ah, okay. You're just throwing me right into it, huh? Okay. And mouse look is off again. So every time you start the game up after enabling the maps that you want to play in Tremor, you have to manually reactivate mouse look. So, okay, we're in business. So, okay, that was one of the level intros of all time. And okay, what we got here? Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Looks like sections of the wall open up when you get into close proximity of them. Now, the help file did say that they changed the textures as well. So these textures are different from what you'd find in the retail version of Quake. I'm not entirely sure why they did that. Maybe it was a way to differentiate themselves from the retail, or I don't know. Maybe it's trying to avoid copyright claims, but I don't know. But in any case, it seems like the textures they use are still pretty faithful to the tone of the original Quake. Also, too, as you probably noticed by now, there is no music. So if you want music, you're going to have to put on something yourself to listen to. But for the purposes of this playthrough, that's actually fine, because if you upload videos of Quake with the original Nine Inch Nails soundtrack, you're going to get copyright claimed, unfortunately. So, which is a real shame, because the soundtrack is like one of the biggest reasons why I love Quake so much. It just adds so much to the atmosphere with its creepy ambient soundtrack and such. So, but what can you do? Okay, so I don't think I've been here yet. No, I haven't. Let's just finish off the night with the nail gun. Oop, where's this taking me? Ah, okay. This is an interesting layout. So far, a lot of these maps have been pretty blocky, I gotta say. But I guess you gotta keep in mind that this was the early days of the Quake mapping and modding community and such, so they were just starting to come to grips with like the editing programs and such that you know they would use. So, because you know, let's be fair here. I'm only playing this for as long as I am because I just love Quake so much. This honestly doesn't hold a candle to the creations that the Quake modding and mapping community come out with nowadays. So, but you know, despite that, the nuts and bolts gameplay is as solid as it ever was. So that takes it still quite a ways, in my book, at least. So, let's see. Did I go here? Yes, I did. This is a bit more labyrinthine than your typical Quake map. Whoa! That was a bit cheap, having me spawn right next to a knight, but okay. So far, it's mostly knights and human grunts, but let's see. More of these. I heard a knight behind me. Yep. Nope. That's another grunt. There he is. I'm pretty sure that by default, because it doesn't give you a difficulty selection option, obviously, when you load up these maps, it seems like it's probably just loading up on, like, you know, normal difficulty. The damage that I'm taking seems to be reflective of that, at least. So, okay, well, this map's okay. I mean, at least by early Quake mapping standards, I guess. I'll just see if there's anything worth checking out over here. A super nail gun. Nice. That texture is suspiciously similar to Doom's door texture. Lightning gun again. What do we got here? Okay. That was overkill. Let's see. I mean, to be fair, the author of this map does seem to kind of have a good grasp on like lighting and such. Oftentimes the doorways that I'm led to often have like a faint bit of like lighting there to kind of highlight them a little bit when they're tucked away in corners and whatnot. So there's that. Okay, but tell you what, since I only have like another 5.5 minutes according to my timer, let's just try one more map maybe and see what we get. Let's go down the list a bit. Die Hard. Sure, why not? Oh my gosh. Okay. Alright. Okay, so I do have a complaint. Yeah, okay. These user-created maps have a bad habit of throwing you into just the thick of things with no warning. That is... I am not a fan of that. I am getting just... rocked here. Dang it. Alright, let me just avoid. Try to kind of avoid. I don't know. Go through the door, go through the door. I'm almost dead. Any health pickups? Keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. I am... okay. This one I'm not a fan of. Let's try something else. Yeah, and this is part and parcel the add-on disc experience. The maps vary wildly in quality, so Duke it. Is this what I think it is? Did somebody recreate the first level of Duke Nukem? Of Duke Nukem 3D, maybe? Invisibility ring. Okay. Interesting choice. So... well, I saw there was at least one secret door over here. Yep. Is this going to hurt me? No. It's just a texture. Oh, yeah. Forgot to turn on mouse look. Alright, so... let's head back that way, actually. So where does this lead? Okay, got some more floating wizards. Hopefully there's... okay, that's a shambler and a ton of grunts. Okay, I think I'm going to go somewhere else for now. Hopefully there's another doorway or something. Yes, there is. Okay. Okay, so... nice. So it seems like for this map they might not have put any, like... movement triggers or anything for the enemies because they're stationary right up until the point where you're practically right behind them. That's how I was able to kill them with just the axe, which normally is nearly impossible to do. So... oh, here we go. Lots of ammo. So it's a lot of human enemies, a couple of wizards in the hallways, and there's that one big room with the shambler. I'm going to see if I can stock up on weapons and ammo first before I get to that. Okay, I'm doing good armor and health-wise. Okay, yeah. There's definitely no, like, special triggers or anything for the enemy AI. They just stuck them in there and just... now, of course, once you shoot them, then they'll come after you. And... to be fair, they do respond to noise as well, to gunshots, but yeah, if they had like included like some like patrolling paths or something, that would have helped significantly, because I'm just able to sneak up on these guys a lot, and that's even without using the invisibility ring. So. Okay, where's the other one? Yep. Okay. There's a secret door that opened here. Yep. Some more. Okay, so if I find a lightning gun, that's going to be really good, because I've been picking up a lot of ammo for it between all of the laser enemies and ooh, quad damage. And, oh, okay, all right. Hopefully that shambler room's close by, because I can make use of this. The pentagram of protection and the invisibility ring and quad damage. Heck yeah. Let me through. I'm used to using the basic shotgun, and I'm one-shotting the wizards due to the quad damage. All right, well, there goes that. Okay, there's another shambler there. Wasn't able to get there in time before those wore off. Yeah, see, This one, the enemies, oh my gosh, they just do not respond. I'm going to be able to take this wizard down with the axe, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it is a very, mixed bag, what you get with this. So, and wouldn't you know it, that is 20 minutes. So I think I'll go ahead and stop there. I could keep playing, but that's just because I'm a huge Quake fan. But I'll go ahead and meet you back at the main menu. So that's Tremor for Quake, and I feel like I need to take a step back for a moment and set aside my obvious pro Quake 1 bias here and indicate to the viewer that despite this episode lasting the full 20 and me personally enjoying the experience overall despite all the rough edges and jank that I had to put up with, that I really can't in all good consciousness recommend this anymore nowadays. For one thing, this compilation CD suffers from the same pitfall that so many other compilation CDs suffered from, and that is little to no quality control when selecting the files, and that results in wildly varying quality from map to map. Also, too, a lot of my enjoyment was derived from the core underlying mechanics rather than the add-on levels themselves. And also, too, if you go to any modern Quake modding or mapping website nowadays, the things the community are capable of producing nowadays just blows us out of the water in terms of quality. Now, having said all that, there is one group that I might recommend this to, and that's those who want to take a look back into the early days of the Quake modding and mapping community, just to kind of see what folks were up to back then. And I'm willing to bet that Head Games did not have this in mind when they came up with this compilation, but this serves as kind of a time capsule that allows us to kind of revisit those early days. Particularly, too, when you factor in the fact that a lot of these websites that used to host these files are most likely no longer up. So a lot of these would have probably been lost to time if this compilation hadn't been made. So it serves as kind of a lifeboat of sorts, too. But unless you're really interested in that sort of thing, then no, I can't really recommend it. There are far more better options for getting your Quake on nowadays. And if you like DOS Gaming Time Capsules, boy did you find the right channel. Be sure to check out the rest of our videos here on the Random DOS Game Show, and if you like what you see, consider subscribing. But that's it for now, and until next time, take care everyone.